Ferrari just dropped a bombshell, and it could get Mercedes banned from the championship. Before Bahrain even begins, they've delivered new evidence to the FIA. Not speculation, not suspicion, proof. Proof that Mercedes is running an engine trick so advanced, it bends the rules, literally. According to Ferrari's report, the M17 power unit uses heat to change shape mid-race, expanding its combustion chamber, boosting compression, and generating illegal power without ever touching the software. That trick could be worth up to 20 horsepower per lap. That's the difference between pole position and the midfield. But here's where it gets insane. The FIA already approved the engine, but they didn't know about this because Mercedes never declared the thermal behavior. They passed inspection cold, but under race temperatures, it's a different machine. And now, Ferrari has the data, the proof, the simulations, and they're demanding action. Immediate review, immediate teardown, and immediate disqualification if the trick is confirmed. This could erase Mercedes from the grid before a single lap is run, before a single point is scored. And the biggest question now, did Mercedes outsmart the rulebook, or did they just get caught cheating on the edge of physics itself? The first clue came quietly, in Barcelona, during private data analysis. 2 days after the test, Ferrari had logged hours of onboard footage, high-res infrared heat maps, and real-time sector telemetry from every car on the track, especially Mercedes. At first, everything looked clean, but then a junior performance analyst, unnamed, working inside Maranello, flagged something strange. Every time the Mercedes completed a 17-lap cycle, the combustion signature changed. Not the fuel, not the throttle input, the combustion chamber itself. The pressure curve was different, stronger, tighter, cleaner. It made no sense, unless Ferrari's technical director ordered a full breakdown. They loaded the Mercedes engine model into Ferrari's private simulation rig, recreated the same temperatures, same airflow, same pressure, and there, buried deep inside the heat behavior, they saw the truth. The chamber was deforming. Under high temperatures, specific walls in the pre-combustion zone were expanding in micromillimeters. Not enough to break, just enough to shift compression and change everything. That one shift gave Mercedes higher ignition efficiency, more torque on demand, and greater energy recovery from each fuel cycle. And here's the key. It resets after every cooldown, meaning during FIA inspections, the engine appears completely normal. It's only once it heats up, in real racing conditions, that the trick activates. Ferrari ran the numbers. Lap after lap, they found a power gain of just under 3%, enough to shave 0.2 per lap, or 12 seconds over a full race. That's not innovation. That's game-breaking. And Ferrari knew it. So they compiled everything. The heat maps, the chamber data, a side-by-side comparison with their own FIA-approved engine under identical stress loads. They highlighted the expansion threshold, documented the failure point of standard alloys, then cross-referenced it with the only possible material that could survive that shift. And what did they find? Mercedes is using a composition never declared during homologation. That changes everything. It's not just a question of design. It's a breach of protocol, a violation of Article 3, Section 2, which mandates full material transparency before approval is granted. And now, with this report in FIA hands, Ferrari is demanding one thing: ban the engine before it ever races. The file arrived at 9:40 a.m., labeled Request for Technical Reevaluation, M17 Power Unit. It was over 40 pages long, detailed, coded, backed by hard data, and signed by Ferrari's head of powertrain development, along with 2 external analysts. When FIA compliance officers opened it, they didn't speak. They didn't issue a response. They escalated it immediately. Within an hour, it was in the hands of the technical director. By mid-afternoon, the president had been briefed, and by nightfall, the FIA knew they had a crisis on their hands, because what Ferrari had exposed wasn't just clever engineering. It was something much worse. A material not listed in the original homologation, a pressure behavior not tested during the approval phase, a dynamic system that becomes active only when the car is running in race conditions. The homologation files were pulled, line by line, declaration by declaration, and that's when the panic truly began. Because inside the documents, buried in the December submissions from Mercedes, there was a gap, a component labeled Variable Thermal Seal Interface. With no further explanation, no diagram, no material listed, just a technical placeholder. It had been missed, overlooked, passed in haste, signed off during the holiday period, with limited staff, and no physical review. It was meant to be inspected post-Bahrain, but now it's center stage, and it may bring the whole system down. So what does the FIA do? First, they go silent. No press release, no comment, just a short internal directive. Reopen compliance review of M17 power unit, effective immediately. Second, they begin rewriting Bahrain's inspection protocol, because if this engine is about to race, they need to be ready to tear it down on the spot. A new clause is drafted, a conditional compliance override. It gives the FIA power to perform a full engine inspection, without team consent, if credible evidence of a breach is submitted pre-race. And Ferrari's report qualifies. But here's the real problem. The FIA doesn't know if banning the engine will save the sport or destroy it, because this isn't just about Mercedes. It's about the entire inspection process. The trust teams have in the rulebook. The trust fans have in the competition. Admit failure now, and you risk unraveling the season before it begins. Stay quiet and risk being exposed by your own data in front of the world. The walls are closing in, and the FIA knows it. The only question now is what Mercedes will do next. Mercedes didn't respond publicly, not immediately. No statement, no denial, no calm explanation for the cameras. But inside Brackley, everything changed. Within hours of Ferrari's report reaching the FIA, Mercedes activated its internal crisis protocol, the same one reserved for championship-threatening situations. Engineers were pulled from development, legal advisors were brought in, and one message was delivered to every senior staff member. Say nothing, document everything, because this wasn't just a technical dispute anymore. This was about survival. Toto Wolff knew exactly what Ferrari was doing. This wasn't about closing a loophole. This was about forcing the FIA into a corner. And Toto hates corners. Behind closed doors, he requested an emergency meeting with FIA leadership, not to argue the data, not to debate interpretation, to draw a line. Mercedes' position was clear. The engine was approved. The materials were declared within tolerance. And the behavior Ferrari described? According to Mercedes, it falls under passive thermal response, not an active system. In other words, the engine doesn't change, the conditions do. And that distinction matters, because under the regulations, passive material behavior is legal, as long as it isn't mechanically actuated. No valves, no software triggers, no movable parts, just physics. That's Mercedes' defense. And they're ready to take it all the way. Because Toto didn't just bring engineers to the meeting. He brought lawyers, specialists in sporting arbitration, contract law, and governance disputes. And the warning they delivered to the FIA was blunt. If you ban this engine before it races, you are admitting your own failure. If you change the interpretation now, you are acting retroactively. And if you do either, Mercedes will challenge it in court. Not quietly, not politely, publicly, aggressively, and with consequences. The message landed, because the FIA knows what that means. A legal battle during a season launch, headlines about governance failures, sponsors asking questions, manufacturers reconsidering commitments, all because of one engine. And yet, Mercedes also knows something else. If the FIA believes Ferrari's evidence is solid, no amount of legal pressure will stop them. So Mercedes has prepared a second option. If the investigation continues, they are willing to open their engine, but on their terms. Controlled environment, independent observers, strictly defined parameters, no fishing expeditions, no reinterpretation of rules. Just one question: does the engine violate what was written, or only what others wish had been written? That's the fight now. And as the paddock begins to buzz with rumors, one thing is clear. This is no longer Ferrari versus Mercedes. It's Ferrari versus the approval process. Mercedes versus the governing body. And the FIA, caught in the middle. With Bahrain approaching fast, every hour that passes makes the decision harder. Because once the cars roll out of the garage, there's no turning back. And the next move will define everything that follows. The paddock is no longer quiet. Word has spread, and every team knows what's at stake. They've seen the data. They've read the headlines. And now, they're deciding what to do next. Ferrari may have submitted the evidence, but behind them, two giants are moving, Audi and Honda. Audi has no interest in waiting. They've spent months developing their own 2026 engine package, fighting for thermal stability, without sacrificing weight or packaging. And now they've learned, Mercedes might have bypassed those trade-offs with a thermal trick that was never declared. So they've taken action. A senior Audi power unit engineer submitted a parallel letter to the FIA. It doesn't accuse Mercedes of cheating. Instead, it asks a more dangerous question. Can the FIA confirm that no adaptive combustion architecture, passive or active, was present in the homologated M17 design? That question isn't technical. It's political, because if the FIA says yes, and it turns out to be false, they've covered for Mercedes. And if they say no, they've admitted the engine was approved. Without full transparency, it's a trap, and Audi just said it. Then there's Honda, publicly quiet, but privately, they're furious. Honda has been burned before, spending years chasing reliability, complying with every regulation to the letter, only to be overtaken by innovations they were never allowed to make. Now, they see it happening again, and this time, they're not staying silent. Behind the scenes, Honda has started pushing Liberty Media. They've raised concerns over regulatory inconsistency, hinted at instability in long-term technical partnerships, and questioned how much power the FIA truly holds over the manufacturers. It's not a threat. It's a warning. If this scandal grows, and the FIA fails to act decisively, it could undermine the very foundation of the new power unit era. And it doesn't stop there. Red Bull is watching. Their position is calculated. On the surface, they stay out of the conflict. But Red Bull Powertrains is entering the 2026 era as a constructor. And what they need more than anything is stability. Christian Horner has made it clear in internal meetings. If the FIA allows retroactive rule shifts because of political pressure, no manufacturer is safe. So now the grid is fractured. Ferrari, Audi, and Honda, pushing for clarity, for a teardown, for consequences. Red Bull, waiting for the FIA to show its true face. And Mercedes, threatening legal war. If the engine is touched, every side believes it's fighting for the future of the sport. But only one of them will win. And now, with only hours before free practice in Bahrain, the FIA must choose: protect the system they built, or dismantle the engine they approved. Either decision comes with a price, and the bill is due.